What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we're going to be talking about PHUN stock, ticker symbol PHUN, and Mark stock, ticker symbol MARK. Let's start off by looking at PHUN because there are some interesting developments that I've noticed with both of these stocks, and they're actually heading in very different directions, but they're actually tied to DWAC stock, right? The Trump pump. Both of these originated because of that. We're going to talk about where they're heading and some possible catalysts that could be moving both of them in the near future. So let's take a look at PHUN stock first, right? So this stock over the past 10 days has been trading in a very similar pattern to what we've seen with DWAC. If you look at this, the charts look very similar. They have spikes on the same days and dips on the same days. So the only difference that we've really noticed is that PHUN has been a bit more bearish over the past couple days, right? Instead of trending up like DWAC has, PHUN has actually been stagnant and not moving that much, right? It's basically just been trading in between $4 and $5 for the past couple of days and rarely ever breaking out of that level, right? And if it does, only very briefly. So the news that actually came out for PHUN today is that they are now accepting Bitcoin for their light personal computers. This news came out at 8:30 in the morning, and if you look at the daily chart, you can see that we initially got a rather large spike off of this news on some big volume. However, that faded away as we went into the trading day, and we ended up moving down and down until we pumped up a little bit as DWAC did, but then got shot down when DWAC got bounced back below 70 bucks. You can see that right here. So both of these stocks ended up suffering throughout the day, right? They're both down on the day. PHUN down about 12%, DWAC down about 7%. So what happened throughout the course of the day was people ended up selling their shares, and you can actually see that a lot of people ended up shorting PHUN stock, right? Short interest is up 20% on the day, and it's not actually that there's a very large short interest as a percentage of the free float. That's only 4.81%, so not many shorts total, but it still does account for 3.44 million shares, so a decent amount of shares, right? And it shows that shorts are increasing their positions, that they're becoming more bearish on the stock, that they're trying to push it down even more. They obviously think that it has further to fall. If you look, it was trading at around $1 before the pump, and now it's trading above $4, so shorts probably think that they can push this thing down a little bit more. Now, what's worrying about their decision to announce that they're accepting Bitcoin for their light personal computers is that there's not actually a fundamental benefit necessarily to accepting Bitcoin instead of cash. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? They're still charging the same price, except they're accepting Bitcoin, and I fear that they were doing this in an attempt to get some more hype around their stock, right? They may have been trying to pump their stock up because Bitcoin, if you look at the price of Bitcoin, has been nearing all-time highs. They may have been trying to get some of the Bitcoin community to come into their stock, and that might actually be what's prompting shorts to want to short this thing, right? Shorts might be sensing that PHUN stock is feeling a little weak, that they were trying to harbor some momentum in themselves by basically appealing to the Bitcoin community and trying to get some Bitcoin influencers to talk about their stock and pump it up. It didn't work, unfortunately, right? Over the course of the day, we saw an initial pump up on this news and then continued to subside. So it's unfortunate for PHUN that this Bitcoin news didn't take, but shorts are obviously not too worried about it, right? Shorts don't think that this Bitcoin news is going to pump the stock up, and we can see it didn't really pump it up that much. So if you actually look at Google Trends, I have a comparison between PHUN stock and MARK. You can see the blue line is PHUN, the red line is MARK. Both of these have been waning in popularity since their initial pumps up. You can see that they've just been getting lower and lower search rankings day after day, which isn't to be unexpected, right? This is typically what happens with stocks after they pump up massively, and it's not to say that they can't pump up again. If you actually look at Mark stock, it is up 17% on the day. This was a trader's move. We hit highs of $2.50, and there are some reasons why Mark stock could be moving higher. But first, I will continue talking about PHUN. I'll get to Mark after that. So for the fundamentals of the amount of people that are interested in these stocks, if you actually look at apewisdom.io, you can see that these are not ranking very highly at all. In fact, you have to scroll all the way down to spot number 85 and 86 to find Mark and PHUN stock. Mark is 85, PHUN is 86. Not many people are posting about these on Reddit and Wall Street Bets, unfortunately, right? Only 17 mentions each and 66 upvotes for PHUN, 20 for Mark. So they're not the highest ranking, and they're not even available on the most active chart on StockTwits. So that's unfortunate as well, right? These were at one point very highly ranked on StockTwits because a lot of people were trading them. However, this isn't to be unexpected, right? If you look at their market caps, PHUN has a market cap of $356 million. Mark has a market cap of $227 million. So they aren't the largest market cap stocks. Obviously, there aren't too many investors in them. So it's not a surprise that they aren't trending on some of the most popular platforms, right? Obviously, these are a little bit more niche. They're much lower market cap than DWAC, but they are still Trump pump stocks. But out of the two, one did very well today, and one did very poorly, right? PHUN was down 12%, MARK was up 15%, and here's a potential reason why. First of all, PHUN had that whole Bitcoin debacle and the shorts piling in. MARK, on the other hand, had a lot of buying pressure, a lot of volume increased, and we're up about 15% right now. A potential reason why is if you look at the options activity, okay? First off, look at PHUN. There are very few options for any of these strike dates available, very few open interest call options, and that's because PHUN did not have options available for it until just recently. If you look back, they actually just got added yesterday, was the first day the options were tradable. You can tell by this purple line on the bottom of the screen right here. It's implied volatility, and it wasn't available until yesterday, which means options were not tradable either. If you look at MARK, though, they have had options tradable for them for a long time. So people actually had, during this big pump up, a chance to buy up a lot of options. And if you look at the option strike date for November 19th, you can see that there are tens of thousands of options for different strike prices, which people have bought likely during and after the pump, right? There are about 10,000 open interest call options at the $2 strike price, 11,000 open interest call options at the $3 strike price, and 12,500 at the $4 strike price. Now, the reason this is important is because it could potentially lead to a gamma squeeze. That may have been what some people were trying to activate. Some whales potentially were buying up shares of Mark, trying to push it up, trying to gamma squeeze some institutions out who may have sold their shares or who may have never had any shares to begin with and who have just sold these options contracts naked, essentially just sold these options contracts, hoping that they would expire out of the money, not expecting to have to buy shares of the underlying company. If this company ever ended up trading above $4, then the institutions selling those contracts were expecting to not have to pay out shares to the individuals who bought those contracts, right? So if this company, if MARK does end up moving above $4 by November 19th, then it could actually create a lot of buying pressure for the stock because institutions have likely sold these naked. They would then have to buy the shares of the underlying stock, which these have been sold for. And that would actually accounts for very many shares, right? Because each options contract is equal to about 100 shares worth. So institutions would have to do quite a bit of buying of Mark stock, which could actually serve to drive the price up quite a bit. And it's very bullish, I will say, for Mark stock, the fact that we were able to get above $2, right? $2 was acting as both a support and a resistance for us. If you look over here, you can see that we were using it as a support in the past, trying to stay above it. And then we sunk below, and we actually bounced off of it a couple of times before we regained ourselves above that $2 level just today. So very good stuff that we're seeing with Mark stock right now. I am very happy about that. Now, obviously, both of these trade somewhat in sympathy with DWAC. If you look on the day, you can see a very clear pattern, especially towards this end of the day period, right, where you saw a big spike up in DWAC price. You also saw a big spike up in PHUN price and a big spike down when DWAC moved to down. So the same can be seen in Mark stock, somewhat not as well, right? You end up just seeing a kind of a movement upwards and then a slow movement downwards, but it does somewhat look like what DWAC was experiencing. Obviously, at this point, MARK is somewhat trading on its own. It's not necessarily as closely tied to DWAC as PHUN is. It never was as closely tied. PHUN actually had a relationship with Donald Trump in the past when they helped Donald Trump and Mike Pence run for the re-election campaign in 2020. MARK was only rumored on Reddit to be tied to the Trump SPACs. So it's not actually confirmed if either of these are really going to be working with Trump, but we'll have to see in the future if that's the case. Now, obviously, there is a bunch of potential reward that you could get for trading these and holding these. They have been up to some very high heights, but they've also come down a long way, so there is some potential risk, right? They're not near their lows yet, so you could potentially be losing money, if you end up trading these, but you could also make a lot. You're going to have to watch the price levels very closely and see which direction they end up breaking out to, especially in relation to what DWAC does, right? If they start trending away from DWAC too much, if they start just sinking and sinking, and DWAC ends up rising, that could actually be very bad for these stocks because it would mean they're no longer linked to DWAC, and a lot of the Trump euphoria might be fading away from them. However, if DWAC starts moving up, and these start moving up as well, that could be very good for them, right? So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. I will try to do my best to keep you guys updated on PHUN and MARK as we look forward. Today's a Friday, so there won't be much to report on over the weekend, hopefully. But on Monday, if you want, you can join us for the live streams. We do those at 9 every day. We go from 9 till 12 and just cover a lot of different stocks. You guys can feel free to ask any questions you want in live streams. I try to respond to every comment if I can. So other than that, guys, that's mostly what I had to talk about regarding PHUN and MARK, as well as DWAC. So feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that. Other than that, though, have a great weekend. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.